So, hey everybody, this is Bill from Matt-Trakker.com, and I am joined by Paul Panfalone, who created the artwork that you see behind me. I had some requests from some people that were watching the episodes to get their own set. Well, fortunately, this is one of the things that I can share with you. And Paul, thanks for taking some time to jump on here for a little bit. And well, first, what are some of the current things you're working on, just so people are in the know and can find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. First of all, I appreciate it. This is pretty cool. I created those mask posters now. I think it was like 2011 or 12. So it seems like a long time ago, But yeah, so I do a lot of illustration work. Obviously, you can see by the mask posters, but I've kind of run the gamut in the creative field from illustration and graphic design and logo and branding to web design, web development, all that kind of stuff. So what I'm really trying to do lately is focus in on the things that I love doing the most. And one of those things is photography. So one of the big things I have going on the last couple of years is I run a website called Plastic Battles, and I run an Instagram account by the same name. And I post mainly G.I. Joe photography, mainly 80s O-ring style G.I. Joes and vehicles and things. And I set them into either dioramas that I build and shoot inside, or I take them outside and try to find interesting locations to shoot them in. So that's like one of my main focuses. And then what I'm trying to do transition into this year is getting back into illustration and kind of doing a 1-2 combo of the photography and the illustration.
That'd be interesting. It sounds to me like, obviously I think you're a little better at illustration than I am, a little bit. I dabble, but it sounds like you and I kind of have a similar background, really, where, I kind of started with web design through the website. Like I talked about it in the past where I couldn't find a good mask website anywhere. So I taught myself how to build a website so I could show M.A.S.K off, and logo design, everything ties back to M.A.S.K for me. So it's cool to see, one, that you're covering different facets of the art realm. You're not just sticking to one thing. You're doing with what, as you said, what you like to do. I would love to do that. Just right before this, we were scheduled to go on earlier, and I got to do something I didn't want to do. So maybe if you're looking for a partner, reach out one day. But
right on.
So what I wanted to say is, one, the first time I saw these Agents of M.A.S.K, Jason and Wyatt, who I reference a lot because, well, they're great guys, and I do a lot of tandem work with them. I got a message from them one day, and they're showing off the prints, and I'm like, "Where's mine?" And then Jason sent me right over to you, and we talked a little bit off and on, and eventually I was able to get a print out of you. And I was grateful because there's only so much you can collect out of the plastic features of it, and
right.
To get artwork based off of something that it's the following is growing, but it died for a while, and to see how much passion you put into this, I was just curious, like how you came up with the concepts of doing that project. So was it always something that you were thinking of doing Spectrum and Viper together, or did you do one and then go to the other? And also, like, how did you come up with the lighting design around these two? Because the masks themselves look phenomenal, but that light you have going around it, I can only hope to one day be able to do something anywhere near that. That's for me, that's my first questions really about this.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, at the time, so there's two types of illustration that I do digitally. Everything I do starts with hand-drawn sketches.
Okay.
Then I move into one of the two programs or both. In this scenario, I started these both. Well, I started with Matt-Trakker. Spectrum M.A.S.K was the first one. So I basically the idea in my head was to take the M.A.S.K, and then my initial idea was the opening sequence where the masks drop down from the circular thing, and they're all around the circular table, and there's some like electricity and stuff going on in there,
Yeah.
there's some cool effects. So that was kind of like my inspiration. Like, I want to do something like that where the mask is like lit up or something's going on around it. And then what I wanted to do though is, since I start in Adobe Illustrator and that's a vector program, I knew I would have to take it into Photoshop. And once the mask was built in Illustrator, take it to Photoshop and add the textures and the lighting there. So what you're seeing in the poster really, except, aside from the frame itself, the illustration itself is the mask is all vector, and every glow you see, the kind of like lightning at the top, connecting to the top of the head, the spectrum light coming out of the bottom, the glows on the little lights on the, I don't know what you would call that, the flap that comes down, that's all Photoshop. And I'll tell you what I did was, it's a lot of layers, a ton of layers. If I remember right, this file might be close to 8 gigabytes of, it might be about
say, I can, from working in Photoshop, I can see the layers. Like I can just picture those layers right now as you're talking about it. And just to maintain that must have been a nightmare.
Well, yeah, it's tough to name all your layers when you have so many. So what I would do is
light 2, light 3, it's like, how do you?
Yeah, I know. There's so many. So what I would do is, I think if I don't have the file open, but I probably wouldn't be able to run it and do this at the same time. But I think I grouped them into folders, and I said like lights, whatever. The problem with that is, if the folders are structured a certain way, they can't be on top of other layers. So if you group them, you mess up the layer order and things aren't basically layered properly. So it was a lot of work. Well, I'll tell you this, a couple little things I did. While I was working on it, the lightning and the glow behind the mask were my main focuses. I obviously wanted the grid patterns in there, from the opening sequence, but I matched the colors to the mask. They're not green. But as I was working with it, I was like, the glow on the bottom coming out should have something to do with the power of the mask, right? Or something to the name of the mask. So that's where I ended up with that color spectrum coming out. And then that was just something I developed while I was working. And then the mask itself, there's two textures that are noticeable. One is there's a carbon fiber texture I put on the mask part underneath the goggles. And that I found a carbon fiber texture, I don't know, from Shutterstock or something. And then I warped it to the shape of the mask. So so if you look closely, it's running along the edges. It's not just a flat texture. I like warped it to the shape. And then in the mask itself, there's kind of like, aside from the white glare, there's like a bluish texture in there. That's just a high resolution photograph of a pool. So I just photoshopped that in there to give it some kind. So it wasn't just a flat blue,
Okay. That's pretty ingenious right there, I have to admit.
It's just experimenting. I probably tried a bunch of different things before I landed on that.
That's hysterical, actually. Yeah, so that's really interesting, and I like the concept of the that bottom power. You're covering that rainbow, the spectrum rainbow there. Was it harder to do the Viper mask because you didn't have as many colors to work with?
Yeah, that's why I really played up the orange on it. Because the Viper mask is, I don't know how to explain what comes out of it. It's almost like a lasso, like a whip. It's like a whip.
I don't know,
but
what
it's like lava, like a lava whip or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Essentially, that's kind of how I would describe it. It just shoots out some red goo. Like, I don't know.
But I guess it's like snake venom, maybe snake venom. I don't know. Like
I
some
don't know
kind
many
of,
snakes that shoot lava though.
but this is like futuristic lava. I don't know. So, so I was like, for the so when I did the Matt-Trakker one, I was like, well, he's the leader of M.A.S.K, and that was fun. I want to go do another one, so I'll do the leader of Venom. Like obviously, it's not my favorite mask, but I wanted to do it. So that one was in looking at a bunch of reference images of the mask itself. I noticed like sometimes it's really blue, sometimes it's really kind of purple looking, depending on. So I kind of went in between and did like a purplish blue, and then but my favorite part of that was actually the little eagle thing on the top of his mask, putting the glare on that and the shine on that.
Yeah,
And then as far as like the effects around it, I just tried to find some basically like probably Shutterstock image of like weird textures like that. So, coming off the back, there's like these wavy things,
mhm.
and I just layered them and played with them and warped them and changed their shape till I got it kind of balanced right. And then I thought it'd be cool, like on the Matt-Trakker Spectrum mask, there's the spectrum coming out the bottom. On this one, I wanted to put some kind of gassy looking texture, and then I put those little light leaks on the edges of the mask in a couple of spots where it looks like a little bright spot light is leaking out. And then, yeah, I just went with the orange. And so it's kind of like a purpley blue, yellow, and orange color palette there.
Yeah, it's pretty much what he had. The funny thing is that you have, so there's different interpretations of how M.A.S.K came to be, and if you, I don't know if you've been reading the comics that have been being put out recently, M.A.S.K 85. The author kind of takes some of the comic origin stories of it, and where Miles and his Andy, Matt's brother, were kind of working together. Mayhem obviously took the wrong technology because his mask does one thing, just like all the other ones, but
Right.
he didn't get the Spectrum mask. But it's a nice backstory with that. I appreciate you sharing, and I appreciate that you created these for fans. Even if you just made them for me, I'd be very appreciative. But I love that. I love that the fans can get original artwork based off of the cartoon. And I'll post a link here. I'm holding my hands up to it right here, and we'll also have links in the description and everything like that for your work and for all the photography that you're doing, just so people can get an understanding of who you are and what you do. But what I want to do next is you mentioned that the Viper mask wasn't your favorite. Let's talk a little mask for a minute. Which one is your favorite?
It's now, it could be different now. I'm trying to go back to when I was a kid because I think, to be honest, my favorite was what's his torch? The torch mask. It's probably my favorite, and I don't know why. It was the frown face on it, something like that. I thought was just, I like the blockiness of it, I guess. I'm trying to think though. There was another mask I really liked. Oh, I liked the Halo. It's Halo, right? So the Halo mask.
Halo mask.
Is it Halo?
Who's the wearer?
Soto, right?
Lifter.
Lifter. I always
Yes.
get that messed up. Lifter mask.
Sorry.
I really like that one too. I don't know. I think Torch was just because I like the jackhammer so much. So it just by default he was just cool to me. Now I hated his interpretation. I hated he was an idiot.
He still is. He was an idiot in the IDW series, the comic, and it just carries on.
I mean I get it, but I think I had the toy before I saw the cartoon. So he had the patch over his eye, he had the cool mask and the badass black truck. And I'm like, this guy's awesome. And then I watched the cartoon. I'm like, he's an idiot.
Yeah, I can fully see that happening because a lot of people had the toys first. So it's see, for me, Jack Hammer is one of my least favorites, and I don't know why. It never stuck out to me as like something that I found like as a favorite. And but I understand like your thinking behind the mask itself. You're looking at the design of it even at a younger age. So that's
Hmm.
that's funny to think about that you're thinking about that that element of it. Um, what about your favorite character? Is it also Cliff Dagger?
No, no, in the
I
cartoon,
was trying to
no.
bait you into that. So
No, no. You know what? I honestly, I think if I'm really thinking about it, I'm trying to just remember sitting there as a kid watching the show. It might be Sly Rax. It might be my favorite character because of his voice.
yeah.
And whenever he's on screen, that cool Venom music's playing,
Mhm.
and I would probably kill someone if I could have clean samples of that music, like the entire soundtrack, just clean samples of the music from beginning to end. You know what I mean? Because it was so cool. I
I've
just
yeah, I've
I feel
tried
like that stuff
to.
doesn't get enough credit for the music that went into any 80s cartoons. I
Mhm.
mean, I feel like the quality of everything from voice acting to the music soundtracks to is was that was the peak, 80s. Maybe in the 90s it was good, but then nowadays it's like one actor does all the voices. You know what I mean? Whereas they would hire different people. I mean, sure, they would. Some guy might do five voices, but there's 36 characters too.
Yeah, it's
So.
also like Thug number two he's voicing.
Hmm.
It's like it's not Doug. Doug Stone did like seven voices. That's unheard of. Um,
Right, right.
and but no, you're right. The music scores, those little tie-ins like that, I would probably not kill somebody for them, as you would, but I would hurt them very badly if I could get them.
It'd have to be a stranger, just someone I didn't know.
Okay,
I wouldn't kill anybody I knew.
yeah, obviously.
Uh,
No, but
I could tell you who my least favorite character is, but I'm sure it's everyone's least favorite character. So
who's that?
Scott.
Really? You don't like Scott?
Oh man, me and my brother
How can you
used
not
to
like
just
this?
yell at the television.
There he is.
I mean, the little plastic version's fine, but on
No, it's
screen,
terrible. It looks like it belongs in a dollhouse.
well, me and my brother used to yell at the TV screen just to be like, you're in like that little bastard. No, like he just like, all right, so cool things would be happening in the show, and we felt like then it would sidebar to Scott and T-Bob. It'd be like, go back to the cool stuff. I don't want to see what Scott's doing. And then Scott would get in trouble, and then they'd have to leave to go save Scott. And every episode's like, Scott's in trouble again. He can't stay in the house like he's told. And T-Bob's like, oh, Scott, we shouldn't do this. And he doesn't listen to his robot pal, and he always gets into trouble. But
Yeah,
I like T-Bob. But anyway.
I I'm not a fan of either. I like the voice acting that was done with them, but just the idea of the characters kind of threw me off. And just the other day when I was doing one of these videos, I was like, wait a minute, how come they never gave Scott anything? He's always out there in trouble in between
Yeah.
everything.
Right.
And
Right.
what kind of father is Matt? One, that he can't keep the damn kid in the house, and two, he's got technology that makes people superheroes, and he can't give his
Right.
son something.
Well,
Like
he gave him T-Bob, right? He gave him a
give him a,
chaperone, a robot
give him
chaperone.
a scooter. I mean,
Well,
it's not going to help.
what he should have done was not give him a mask that has legitimate power, because the kid would like blow up a whole shopping mall. But maybe what he could have done is the mask's power is to basically create like an Iron Maiden suit around Scott, so he couldn't go anywhere.
Actually, what should have been done is just like implant a chip into him that you could press a button that warps his ass back to Tracker Mansion in a locked cell
Yeah.
somewhere.
Right.
It's just to get him out of the way. But it was a necessary evil for the cartoon to have that. Like, most of the cartoons of
Right.
the '80s
Right.
had that, except for like GI Joe. That was one of the few ones that didn't have that idiot comic foil thing going on.
They did
Um,
have Shipwreck and Polly. So that was
but
kind of like Polly was as close to like an Orko you know, T-Bobby, what was that, Snarf? Oh God, I hated Snarf from
Yeah,
Thundercats. You
yeah.
know, that kind of goofy character.
It wasn't to that level where you're like, all right, as you said, go away. I want to
Yeah.
see what Brad's doing. I want to see what
Yeah.
Honda's doing. But yeah, it's funny that yeah, I'm it's funny that most people feel the same way, but it
You know, on Mask side, I'd say now that you mentioned Brad's probably my favorite, but he was also because he was my first, like everyone's first Mask vehicle was the Condor.
Mhm.
Like that was my first. So, and I thought the Mask's power was probably the coolest power out of
Yes,
all the Masks. You
I
know,
I agree with that, and a lot of people that I talk to through chat or messages and things like that, they talk about Condors being the first because
hmm
back in the day, um, our parents did what they could, and if they were going to buy you a toy, I think Condor might have been like $4 compared to
right?
uh, Thunderhawk, which might have been 20, something along those lines.
Oh,
So
right. Yeah,
everybody kind of had that first experience with either Condor or Piranha.
a Piranha, right? Exactly. Yeah, my
So
neighbors, theirs was Piranha, and I think my brother and I both got Condor, so we both had it. So we
who,
had
whose
two.
Condor was better?
Mine, of
No,
course.
that's the correct answer. My brother and I didn't share the math stuff. We shared a lot of other toys when we were younger, but for some reason, I was the only one who got Mask. I let him play with them, sure, but they weren't his.
Right.
So, but it's funny that you guys could have a battle with your neighbors. So if
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, I'll leave you with this question: if you were going to create a Mask agent, or an empower yourself, is there something that comes to mind that, since you're a designer, that you would think of doing, like just
Like
just
legitimately, or in a funny way?
well, legitimately funny. We'll go with that.
Well, honestly, I mean, being a designer, I have my hangups, right? My OCD hangups as far as design goes. So I think I would create some kind of mask that would fix terrible design everywhere I go, so I didn't have to look at it anymore. Like, this is a deep cut for anyone who knows design, but kern your type, kern the letters,
Wow,
please.
you're really targeting specific people there.
Or as in web land, what is it like, letter spacing, letter dash spacing? Like, do it, track your letter, whatever the term you want to use. But when there's like a gap between two letters a mile wide, it looks like two words instead of one. All right, I'm done.
That's fine. I
Oh, that's gonna be called kern.
That's a good name.
The kern.
K with a K, right?
And then like letters come out of it, they fly out of it, and they fix whatever's there.
It's still better than Totem. So
Ooh. That was a cool looking mask. I will say that.
lucky Mask, but you talk about like short end of the stick.
I
No
know.
pun intended there.
No pun intended. I was
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, that was literally the dumbest thing I'd ever seen. Like he shoots totem
Yeah.
poles on the ground and that's it.
But he also, that was during the racing days, right? Or did he come out before?
No, it was racing. He
Yeah.
unfortunately debuted in the racing series where
Oh man.
the imagination kind of dipped a little bit, but
I still remember how excited I was for new Mask episodes. And then after like the first two or three, I was like, wait, are these all going to be races? Like I only thought, maybe it's just that episode's a race. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what are they doing?
they
Like,
won
why are
10
they?
episodes in that run, and then it stopped. I still don't know why. I've been doing some detective work trying to figure it out, but basically you had a 65 episode run, which was not unheard of at that time for the
Mm-hmm.
80s, where they were doing like an episode every day almost, and
Right.
then they went to season 2, which is series 3 of the toys, the racing series. They won
Right.
10 episodes, and I don't know what happened. The only thing I can say that I can, so when you're getting, I have some cell art in my collection. I can't find anything from the original run, but I find the racing series all over the place. So they must not have valued that at all. If the if those behind the scene things are out in the open like that, there must have been little value in that series. And I don't know if the toy line cut it or if it was the episodes that killed it, but we'll find out one day. Actually, before I let you go,
Sure.
so the St. Louis Blues just won their first cup.
Right.
And I wanted to know, since you're a Buffalo Sabres fan and I'm a Flyers fan, we're both cursed.
Right.
But to be fair, the Sabres have gotten the better of the Flyers over the last 15 years. It always seems like they always win the season series.
Yeah, except for when we signed Billy Leno. That was.
I love that.
Thanks for Billy Leno.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. He had that.
I think we're still paying him not to be on the team.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. But I wonder if anybody will even know who Billy Leno is. I'll post a picture here in his stats. He had like a half a good year in Philadelphia and then got a ridiculous contract from Buffalo and was terrible and never really played.
Because he was good in the couple playoff games we played against the Flyers, and then the owner's like, "Go get that guy."
The one time he says, "Go spend money," he spends it on the exact wrong player. So with the season coming up, there's some, we have the next season coming around. One, who do you think will win the cup? And two, the Flyers and the Sabres, who wins the cup first?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
Well,
Sabres have never won a cup. This is their 50th anniversary year coming up. That's 50 years in the league with no championship. They could have won against Dallas, but
Hall was in the crease.
Somebody didn't call something that was actually a rule back then.
Hall was in the crease.
Yeah, and I just heard a whole story about that, but we can talk about that outside of here. But I first of all, I'm happy St. Louis won the cup. Ryan O'Reilly got his cup. He was on the
same O'Reilly.
I guess they didn't want to pay him a bonus that he was owed, so they traded him before the bonus, and now he gets he got the MVP trophy. He got the Selke award. So good job, Sabres. We don't have a number 2 center really, and he was it.
I have one of ours, so we have like 20 of them. They're all terrible, but
we did get Tage Thompson, so whoever that is. So I don't know. I think who wins the cup next year? I'd love to say the Sabres, but it's not going to happen. God, I'm trying to think of the teams that we're in a weird shift.
We are.
The Blackhawks and Penguins were so good for so long, and now they're kind of coming on the downswing. And now other teams are really becoming the year in and year out competitive teams like Tampa Bay and Vegas, which is just a weird thing. Vegas better not win a cup before either of our teams, because I will riot.
Well, I mean, the Flyers have 2, but I was not even a concept at that point.
Right. It's been a while for the Flyers too. That's crazy.
I think it was 75 or 74 against Buffalo. I forget.
If it's not the Flyers or Sabres, it better not be the Bruins. I don't want Boston to win anything. Sorry, Boston people. But I kind of want a Canadian team to win a cup. I kind of think it's not fair. It's their game. But I hate Toronto, so it can't be Toronto.
As a Buffalo fan, I accept that. I hate Toronto too, but you have more of a reason to, since you guys are, geographically right there. It's a 2-hour drive for you to get to the stadium?
Yeah, from Buffalo it would be. Yeah, it's I wouldn't mind seeing, I don't know, Canadians have won so many. I would really love to see a Winnipeg or Calgary. Calgary would be, because they were decent. They were pretty good last year.
They need a goalie.
So maybe they get a goalie in the offseason and puts them over the top. So I'm not going based on anything other than heart. And I would say if it can't be our teams, I'm going to go Calgary. I know it's a huge, long answer, but there's so many things to consider. And who wins the cup first, Flyers or Sabres? I'm going to have to say Sabres, but only, not because I'm a homer, but what I'm going to say is we have like people there, young talent that are supposed to be really good. So we got Eichel. Now we got Dahlin, which is, I don't know, everyone's raving over. And he had, for an 18-year-old rookie defenseman, he wasn't the worst defenseman on the team, which an 18-year-old rookie, you would expect him to be the worst defenseman, because defensemen don't get good until they're older. It's not like being forward.
Yes.
So we got them, and Reinhardt's really good. And we signed Skinner, and Skinner was like, Skinner and Eichel together is like deadly. What I hear is they're looking for another winger for that line, and Reinhardt will be in a different line. So
okay,
if we can get a couple pieces, I think we're good building for the long haul. So I'm hoping within 5 years we'll be competitive. Like, playoffs for 2 or 3 seasons straight, kind of competitive. But I will say this, my one design caveat is I don't want the Sabres winning anything until they get rid of that horrible navy, purpley, black, blue color and go back to the royal blue. That's it, royal blue or GTFO.
I can concur with that. And interesting story too, just real quick, with the Flames, you've heard of Johnny Grudeau. He grew up right near me. And
really?
my brother-in-law played hockey with him growing up.
Awesome.
So my wife actually carted him around sometimes for carpools.
Really?
Yes. We don't, there's no like tie to anything, but to know that it's just a funny little side story that a $9 million superstar was in our car at one point. So,
that's hilarious.
But I agree. I honestly think Buffalo is in a better situation than the Flyers. The Flyers are hampered by the transition between the Goon Squad. They're still stuck in that way. They still haven't realized that hockey, even though the Blues won by playing Smash Mouth hockey. But you have to have that speed and talent, and the Flyers don't have it. So they're stuck in this weird quandary where they're trying, quote unquote, but they're not going to get there before other teams are. I mean
they would need a wholesale change. And my honest take is you need like a balance. You need the speed 100%, but then you need some big bodies to wear down the other team. Yeah. And so if you roll 4 lines, you got to have a line of size to wear down the other team's lines. So that when the speed guys get out there, they're either paired up against people that aren't worn down but aren't fast, or they're paired against fast guys that are worn down. So you need that balance, and you need strong goaltending.
We finally have a goalie. It only took. I'm 37 now. It only took 37 years to get a damn goalie.
I remember that was always the Flyers thing since Hextall. It was like
version 1 or version 2 Hextall, because we got him when he was terrible for the 97 run.
Yeah, I'm saying version 1 Hextall. Like you had Gar Snow, right? You had what's his name?
I mean, you and I could do a podcast just on shitty Flyers goaltenders if you want.
Oh, I know. Who was the guy that went to the Senators and got in a fight with the Sabres goalie?
Ray Emery.
Ray Emery, yeah.
I think he started with the Senators and came to the Flyers.
That's right. Yeah,
he was actually half decent.
Yeah, but like you need like we're stuck in that. We had Hasek, which is like the greatest goalie ever. I mean, we would in that we mentioned earlier, the '99 finals where we lost because the foot was in the crease. We would never even made it past the first round without Hasek. We were winning games 1-0, 2-1 because of that guy.
Yeah, we had Hasek's distant cousin, or not really distant cousin, but we had Czechmanek. So
Roman Czechmanek.
The unorthodox style of that guy, where he stopped at least 2 pucks a game with his mask on purpose.
Yeah, I remember him.
He was actually fun, but the team around him didn't like him. But yeah,
you got to have that.
I honestly think Buffalo will hoist the cup before the Flyers do, and when they do,
in 2052,
I'll think of you. But I'm also going to expect to see some sort of cool artwork based on it too.
Man, I'm a huge Sabres fan. Everyone knows it, and I've been asked a bunch of times to create some Sabres artwork, and I'm like, I will one day. I'll do something, but
you have to be really inspired.
I need the blue to be right, and I need them to be winning where I'm just caught up in that wave of excitement and I can't help myself, you know. But I think getting back to M.A.S.K, I've brought it up before. I've got a bunch of sketches that other M.A.S.Ks I was going to do like these two, and I
was going to ask.
Yeah, I haven't done them just because it was a lot of work, and I really have to sit down and do it. But I have ideas. I sketched out the Torch M.A.S.K. I sketched out Gloria's M.A.S.K. I sketched out, what else did I sketch out? There was another one. Sly Rax's M.A.S.K. Stiletto, right? So I've sketched those out. It's just a matter of taking them into Illustrator and then Photoshop. But one day you might see them. I'm not going to promise anytime soon, but so before I do any Saber stuff, I'd love to do that kind of stuff.
Fair enough. Well, I appreciate you coming on for a little bit, talking M.A.S.K, talking hockey, talking your artwork.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Before we sign off, is there anything you want to promote or anything you're working on?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, currently doing the photography. It's Plastic Battles on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. It's plasticbattles.net, which is the website. I know it's mainly G.I. Joe stuff, but I feel like when I was a kid, everybody liked M.A.S.K, like G.I. Joe. So it was
there's a strong tie. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love both. You know, I still wish, man, they had made those M.A.S.K figures G.I. Joe scale. Because
we got that one that they did.
Right.
And then the re-release based off of the IDW comics, and that was it. But yeah, you're right.
You know, back then, like a Rhino at like that scale, that would have been amazing. But yeah, so I haven't done any M.A.S.K photography because I don't have any M.A.S.K toys left. I have one figure left. I can't even think of his name. He's a later figure. I picked him up in a lot of figures, but I keep looking for M.A.S.K stuff. But I have this thing where it needs to be mint. Like I've seen a bunch of Rhinos, but that chrome's worn off it. And I'm like, I need to get one where I just saw one this weekend that I was at Joe Fest in Georgia, which is G.I. Joe Con. So there was one there, and I'm like, oh man, if that grill was nice, I might pick it up. But one day I might work in some M.A.S.K photography. I also want to work in and start collecting Starcom stuff because I love it.
It's a close tie-in with M.A.S.K with that too, yeah.
Right. So right now it's mainly Joe stuff, but it might evolve. So there's the photography. I'm actually launching a Patreon to help with that. And basically anybody who's into toy photography, it'll be a behind the scenes on like everything I do for setting up dioramas to set my settings on my camera to lighting, all that kind of stuff. And then every Thursday night on Instagram, at least right now it's on Instagram, I do a live video for an hour at 8 p.m. on Thursdays, and I just talk about toys and things I picked up. And I'm going to move that to YouTube as soon as I get a better setup, but right now it's Instagram. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure to post that information here. Again, Paul, thanks for jumping on for a little bit. And until next time, this is Bill from Matt-Trakker.com, and we'll talk to you later.